Do you want me to come over?
Having technical difficulties. The time now is 5:01. The mic's on.
We good? Check your email.
You're funny.
Email.
Do it.
Wight County School Board's in session. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Mr. Colick? Mr. Cunningham?
Here.
Mrs. Perkins? Here. Mr. Wooster?
Here.
And Mr. Marsh?
Here. Item 3.1, Mr. Wooster.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda for closed session as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. Item 4.1, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move to remove fundraising match program discussion from the agenda for open session and approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just for the sake of the listening audience, we're going to defer that particular agenda item until next month. That was something that Mr. Colick had requested to add and discuss, and since he's not here tonight, we will accommodate him for next month. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. 5.1, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move to go into closed session to review the personnel report and addendum posted on board docs under Personnel tab number 18.1 as authorized by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1 for purposes of discussion and consideration of prospective candidates of Isle of Wight Public Schools for employment, contract changes, transfers, salary adjustments, supplemental contracts, deletions, supplemental pay, resignations of Isle of Wight County Public Schools employees.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yay.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone speaking in closed session?
No, sir.
All right. And on that, we'll go into closed session. All the Wight County School Board's in session.
Mr. Chair, I move that the closed meeting was conducted in conformity with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as required by Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, and certify that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yay.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes.
Would everyone please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooster. Good evening. It's October 10th, 2024. And we are in Westside Elementary School for our regular school board meeting. For the people watching on the live stream, just a heads up, the internet's been a bit intermittent throughout the day. So in the event you lose the feed, we will record it and it will be reposted in the typical spaces at the conclusion of the meeting. And on that, we'll kick it right over to Isle of Wight Achievers. Mrs. Briggs.
Good evening. Isle of Wight County Schools, the vision for Isle of Wight County Schools is to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique gifts and talents. The Isle of Wight Achievers section of our board meeting gives us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate our students and staff for their unique talents and gifts. And I'm wondering why it's not displaying up there. Okay. Thank you kindly. Okay. We are picking back up with our Seniors of the Month. This is something we do between October and May. And so here we are in October. And we'll be recognizing a senior from Windsor High and a senior from Smithville High as Seniors of the Month. We'll start first with Windsor High, and I believe Dr. Coleman is going to assist up here with our awards. So first we'll have the Senior of the Month for October from Windsor High, which is Jordan Baldwin. Jordan, if you'll come up. And while Jordan is coming up, she's going to stand in front, and let me read you some things about Jordan. Jordan's strong commitment to service is evident through her participation in FFA volunteer events, such as food drives and community outreach, as well as her contributions to Bible school. A member of both FFA and Beta, Jordan consistently exemplifies leadership, compassion, and responsibility in all she does. Aside from her commitment to extracurricular community events, she devotes time to learning all she can from her teachers. It is evident based on her reactions that she enjoys learning new things and is always ready to answer questions and or help her fellow classmates. In September, Jordan demonstrated remarkable dedication through her involvement in various extracurriculars and volunteer efforts. As an active participant in animal welfare, she regularly rides and cares for horses, works at the Sussex County Animal Shelter, and attends events to help find homes for animals in need. In addition, she fosters baby kittens and helps rehabilitate rescue horses. Quote, Jordan's caring and compassionate ways are what makes her a true Windsor Duke. She is always willing to give of herself to make her school a better place, not only for herself, but for her fellow students and teachers. Jordan's strong commitment to her morals and values is an unwavering strength not seen in many students today. These traits are what truly make her a deserving recipient of this honor, and that comes from Jason Brittle, agricultural education teacher. In the immediate future, Jordan plans on attending either Tidewater Community College or Camp Community College, and from there she plans on studying veterinary technology. Congratulations, Jordan. We'll have you come over here for a photo, and I think Mr. Elliott is going to come up and get Jordan's picture, and family, this is the perfect time to hop up and get a photo, and even join Jordan in a photo if you'd like. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Congratulations once again, Jordan. The Senior of the Month for October from Smithville High School is Caden Snyder. Caden is a very polite, generous, and kind person. He is articulate, intelligent, and enjoys mentoring the Engineering 1 and 2 students. He does not hesitate to help others, and he takes pleasure in making a positive contribution to his school community. Caden displays leadership qualities with his participation in KidWind and robotics. He is a role model that all of the students in Smithville High can aspire to be. At the end of last school year, Smithville High had the opportunity to be part of a significant historical project. This cross-curricular project allowed art and history students to collaborate on a local historical mural. Caden's contribution was integral in providing historical research. He took the lead in providing sketches and suggestions about landmarks to be depicted. He represented Smithville well to significant stakeholders. Community members could not stop talking about his intellect and passion for the project. He helped to paint a clearer and vivid picture of the history of Isle of Wight County. Quote, Caden Snyder is the epitome of good character, remarkable effort, and genuine care for others. He is an upstanding student and citizen, and that comes from Zachary Kemp, history teacher. Caden would like to attend ODU after graduation and major in engineering. Congratulations, Caden. And we invite Caden's family to come up. Congratulations once again, Caden. Nice job. Okay. Now we have our first ABCD honoree. Each quarter, we recognize one of our support staff members who has gone above and beyond the call of duty. Anyone throughout the division is invited to submit nominations. A panel reviews the nominees and selects the quarterly winners. Our 2024-2025 first quarter ABCD award winner is Lori Taylor, clinic assistant at Smithfield Middle School. And Lori's going to come up. Yay. The nomination for Lori states, Lori Taylor has demonstrated superior professionalism and dedication to her supportive role within the clinic team. There has been no nurse in her clinic at Smithfield Middle School this year. However, using her leadership qualities, she has run the clinic flawlessly while executing exceptional clinic management. She has built strong relationships in her building with the staff, students, and family, and it's clear she is a well-respected figure at SMS. She often steps in to support situations and is an invaluable teammate. A common phrase she uses is, "What can I do?" or "How can I help?" She has been a critical component in collaborating with counselors and identifying students in need. Recently, she rose to the call and assisted the division in certifying 14 staff members in CPR. Using her CPR instructor certification she obtained as a volunteer EMT. This training ensured that all schools within the division would be compliant all year long with our CPR requirements. Lori never backs down from making a significant contribution, even if it is a challenge. She has the heart of a volunteer as she time after time goes above and beyond the call of duty. As part of her award, Ms. Taylor is receiving a $50 Visa gift card thanks to the generous support of the Smithfield Women's Club, and a personalized plaque created in the Smithville High School Makerspace. Congratulations, Ms. Taylor. Well deserved. I thought that EMT thing might perk your ears up a little bit, Mr. Wooster.
Oh, I'm listening.
And she has a lot of family here tonight supporting her. We have a wide angle lens. It's good. It's all good. Uh-oh. That is the Christmas card photo right there, isn't it? That's beautiful. Congratulations once again. All right. That's going to conclude our achievers tonight, but I do want to introduce Ms. Outland and Ms. Catterbone, Principal and Assistant Principal at Carsville Elementary School, because they have a very special presentation tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs.
I probably don't need this. Good evening, Chairman Marsh, school board members, Dr. Kramer, and guests. I am Tara Outland, the very proud principal at Carsville Elementary. I have with me this evening Ms. Stacy Catterbone, my counterpart, assistant principal, and 4 gentlemen who were my 5th graders last year. I have J.R. Butler, Carter Landis, A.J. Newberry, and Nathan Curl. At Carsville, we believe in creating and cultivating a collaborative community for student excellence. And in February, we continued to hold that steadfast and steady as these boys sent me an email with a dream. They had a field of dreams to create and bring to Carsville a basketball court. Their dream became a reality at a fundraiser organized by them at a local restaurant. If I could, Mr. Dominique Knight and Steve Woody with MEB, would you please come up front? Thanks to our community partners like MEB, a field of dreams came true in August. At the fundraiser, Mr. Drew Holt, who's unable to be with us, was actually there, inquired about the boys' dream, which became a reality through these gentlemen and probably 25 to 30 other workers from MEB. Not only did they help bring the basketball court to fruition, they also renovated our baseball field. I look forward to a continued partnership with MEB because I've already got other ideas on my desk. So, you know, we want to create leaders. Miss Luck is behind me. I told her to expect big things from our students coming out of Carsville. We need to stop and listen to our students. Their leadership skills are there. We are creating our future leaders. Boys, I'm very proud of you. MEB, thank you for believing in our students and making a dream come true. We hope that you will take this plaque back to corporate, hang it in your office, and remember Carsville. Thank you very much. Yes. Can we come over here? We're going to move that way.
Mrs. Outland, thank you very much for bringing those boys up here and introducing the gentleman from MEB. Absolutely. It was a pretty amazing accomplishment, and we're very proud of you all. Thank you. Thank you. I think Georgie Tyler's up next, right?
Good evening. Good evening, Chair, board members, and Dr. Kramer. Tonight we will present our Windsor Frog project at GTMS. My name is Abby.
My name is Christopher.
My name is Sky.
Good evening, I'm Connor.
I'm Josie.
Eighth grade art students were invited to paint the next frog out near. Eighth grade art students were invited to paint the next frog to show and share. Eighth grade art students were invited to show and share our history of Windsor. Oh my God. We will paint the frog near the Windsor Town Center.
We are using the elements of art to create our own frog story. Our driving question was, how can we creatively communicate a narrative through art to engage and educate our community?
We visited the 6 frogs within the town of Windsor, and we learned they were important because of the native name Korwa, meaning frog level. Windsor is home to many indigenous species of frogs.
In 1992, the town was created. The first landmark was the post office, followed by the railroad and the fire station. Many of the frogs are placed at the locations.
Our launch trip started with Jeremiah, who has many images about faith and community, connecting him to the church, which was started in 1877. Spirit is a tribute to 2 other landmarks, the Ruritan Club and the Women's Club, which was started in 1930.
Boy Scout Troop 41 created their frog to represent Windsor, meaning frog level. Windsor High School students painted their frog to represent their mascot, a Windsor Duke.
Griffey represented the town's rich connection to farming, and Smokey, located at the Windsor Fire Station, represents our valuable firefighters.
After our launch trip, we began our individual design, using the elements of art. You can see here how the color helps these frog sculptures show depth.
Value helps to show curves and lines in our art, while proportion helps us size the images to fit nicely on the available space on the frog.
In our designs, we also incorporated 2 more elements, being unity and variety, to make our designs even more unique, even if there was a lot going on inside our pictures.
This is one of our unique designs. It was created to represent a student at GTMS. Notice how the images used unify that theme.
At this time, we are still at the beginning stages of our project. We will combine and collaborate our ideas into group designs, revise them after feedback, and send the top 3 to the town for selection. We hope to finish painting by the second semester and invite the people to an unveiling at that time.
I'd like to thank you all for allowing us to share our experience with you tonight.
Are there any questions that we can answer for you?
I have a question. So out of the ones that are in place today, which one's your favorite?
My personal favorite is the Duke because it represents most of the elements of art.
My favorite is also the Windsor Duke because that's the school I'm going to next after UTMS.
It's a good answer. So, just so I understand the process, you guys are going to finalize your proposals and then you're going to present it to the town council in Windsor?
Yes, sir.
So you get to go before another board and make your pitch. That's pretty awesome. Anybody else? Look forward to seeing the final result and appreciate you coming up here and sharing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks again for everybody that presented. Madam Clerk, that takes us over into public comments. Do we have anybody signed up to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
In accordance to policy BDD-H-E, presentation of information on any subject will be concluded at the discretion of the board. No person will be recognized to speak more than once. Citizens scheduled on the agenda to speak will be permitted 4 minutes maximum time for their presentation. Delegations will be requested to limit their speakers to 2. Persons speaking are asked to be specific, state the issues for the board's consideration, and attach a copy of your prepared remarks. If you have prepared remarks, they should be given to the board clerk. Please do not approach the board members. Any matter relating to specific students will be heard by the school board only in a closed meeting. First, we have Ms. Courtney Layton. And then come back.
Hi, my name's Courtney Layton. Eric, we can't hear. Am I just not talking loud enough? I apologize about that. My name's Courtney Layton. My son goes to Windsor Elementary School, and I wanted to address the situation regarding Mrs. Deweese's resignment. I do understand that the school board does not make that decision, and it is the superintendent, which I would like to address, Dr. Kramer. Over the summer, we learned of Ms. Couch's promotion to the Director of Nutrition. We were saddened by the news, but we knew our children would be in great hands with Ms. Deweese. It was assumed by most that she would become principal. I certainly believed it. She put in her resignation due to the underappreciation, the fact that she's been good enough to be vice principal for 9 years, but not good enough to be principal in your opinion. You don't interact with our families on a daily or even weekly basis. In many people's opinion, Ms. DeWeese has a unique way of working with our children. She provides a safe place for the students. When they're having difficulty, they find stability with her. She knows the teachers and students personally and knows how to adequately place students with teachers. She knows who the best placement would be. And I believe that you should reconsider her application. School board. I'd like to address the fact that you've been aware of this situation for 10 weeks. I know multiple parents have emailed you asking you to address the superintendent's non-decision. We're beyond asking. We are begging that you reconsider who you are what candidate you are presenting to the school board. I understand school board, you're not part of the hiring process, but you do approve the candidate that Dr. Kramer presents to you. So I'd like to address you say the parents are the cornerstone of quality education. The cornerstone is us speaking up. Hearing our voices would be amazing. We want our students to have DeWeese as principal. She is
1 minute.
She's a very safe place, and I understand that she has resigned and she's no longer part of Wight County. But her application is still active. If we could reconsider her application, I have 394 signatures for our petition for Ms. DeWeese to be promoted. Excuse me, not promoted, reconsidered, her application reconsidered. We talk about retention and hiring within our schools, keeping our employees, instead of bringing newcomers in. Now we're bringing 2 outside candidates to our school, and it's causing a huge change, and it's going to affect staff, which is going to affect students. I know a lot of staff are afraid to speak up, they're afraid to be blackballed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Greg Brown.
I would mess that up, so just let you do it. All right, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen on the board, Dr. Kramer. So I have a topic I'd like to get to, but first, I'd like to express my appreciation for some really positive things that I saw watching last month's school meeting. So Dr. Kramer, the staff, all the great people at the schools have done a wonderful job. We got the budget balanced. We got new grant funding coming in to help build for the future. We got better quality food in the cafeterias, and it sounds like the costs are down for that food, which is awesome. We heard about it today, the wonderful student-led initiative that our administrators and teachers got behind and got the basketball court built at Carsville. And then I heard some really positive things from our gifted coordinators last month. There we go. Last month that I'm really excited about. So I'd like to thank everybody involved and the school board members for their support in getting all that done. Now what I'd like to get to are some thoughts on what we can do to maybe improve transportation in the county. especially in the northern part of the county. We've had some traffic challenges. It seems to be working better here at Westside since they changed the flow around, but I'm sure you guys have seen the photos of the backups at Hardy, back in traffic all the way up to the packing plant, and I'm sure that's not the only choke point we've got in the county. I have more questions than I do answers probably, but I'm hoping to at least spark some ideas for what we could do to improve. So first off, what can we do to incentivize as many families as possible to use the school buses rather than driving their kids to and from school? I would be willing to bet that a lot of the cars going to pick kids up at school, they're picking one kid up. So for every single kid that we can get riding the buses instead of having a parent pickup, that takes one whole car out of that traffic jam. So we can get 60 more kids on, that shortens that by 60 cars. So a couple ideas. We could prioritize getting the buses out of the schools, getting them loaded and out of the school before we release the kids for car pickup so that the buses can make it through the choke points we've got. Like right here at Route 10 and Main Street is a huge choke point, especially with the bridge work going on. If we can get the buses through there first, all those kids, which is still the majority of the kids that are riding the buses, get home faster. It makes the buses more attractive, and families are more likely to let their kids ride the bus. The second idea is, can we give the bus drivers more options and support for addressing poor behavior on the bus? I'm sure most of the kids are pretty well behaved on the bus, but the few that aren't are making that a worse experience for the kids that are riding the bus. And if we can support the bus drivers in addressing that, again, that makes it a more attractive alternative for families to use that. Second, is there anything we can do to encourage carpooling for families that are willing to pick up multiple kids? I know in my neighborhood, we have probably 6 kids that all go to the same school. If we could talk and get that down to 2 cars instead of 6 cars, again, that's taking cars off the road and making it easier. I don't know if this is possible. Could we put in an HOV lane so that families that are picking up multiple kids can get through faster? Again, crazy idea, but you know, what can we look at? And then third, what can we do to encourage those that live within a reasonable distance to walk or bike to school instead of bus or car? Just for reference, I looked up Hampton City Schools, and they require elementary school students living within half a mile of school and middle and high school students living within a mile of the school to walk. And it's the same for bus stops. I know we need infrastructure in place so they can do that safely, but what can we do to encourage that? Just one idea is, can we lobby our town and county representatives to insist that when they're approving developments that they include safe walking and biking paths to get to the schools? I had more, but it's time. So thank you all very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Okay, is anybody else wants to speak before we move on? What you got, young lady? Dad, can you state your name for the minutes?
My name is Dan Piner, and this is Olive. She goes to Windsor Elementary, and she's got something to say about our current principal situation.
Okay.
Our current principal our principal is going to be. So all of the classes are being illusion, and they're kind and helpful and trustworthy to us. And all of them are been happy and smart and have great choices and all that stuff. And who you want to be your next principal? Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mind if I say a little something? Yes. So, yeah, just to kind of go off of what Ms. Courtney was saying earlier, I don't know much of what's going on behind the doors, obviously. That's, that's your job. But on the outside, all I see is a community that really wants Miss DeWeese to be in the principal position. The teachers are supporting her. Miss Couch is supporting her. The parents are supporting her, and I don't really understand what the problem is. I guess what I'm really looking for is not make a statement, but maybe to get some answers. Is there any way we could do that? Just once? A little bit? No? I mean, I'm just asking. I really don't know what's going on, but
So
it
the
really
board is
seems
going to take action later this evening. We're going to address it.
It seems to be heading into a big old mess.
We're going to address it tonight, sir.
And the only invested interest I have is this right here. So that's my bottom line. And that's all I care about. And Ms. DeWeese has been awesome as far as getting her to where she's supposed to be at. And she's done it for countless kids. I've heard all these stories. She's some kids' safe person, you know? They really look forward to going and see her every day. I just really don't understand what the problem is. I really hope it's nothing political going on, because then I'm going to get really upset. That's my, I don't need the rest of the 2 minutes. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. All righty. We'll shift gears over to our student liaisons. Over to you.
All right, I'll go first. So at Windsor High School, it is Spirit Week because our homecoming is Saturday. So tomorrow is a busy day. We have a pep rally after school. In the morning, seniors are having a senior sunrise, catered by, well, we're getting Chick-fil-A biscuits. So we're looking forward to that. And then we'll have a parade, and then we're playing Sussex for our football game. An issue that I keep hearing about is the blocking on the internet. It makes it really hard to complete our work with the amount of sites that are blocked and the broad firewall that is put on a lot of stuff, especially without our phones this year. We can't look anything up separately, so that's just the issue. Shout out to our custodians keeping the bathrooms clean. I know that was a big issue for us last year, but I mean there seems to be no issues as of right now. So I'm very happy about that. And then lastly, the bus issue. About every day they come up on the announcements, and it's about 3 to 4 minutes worth of bus changes. I'm fortunate enough to not have to ride a bus, but even for me, it's confusing, so I can't imagine the kids who are riding the bus, especially like the elementary schoolers. So I hear about kids getting home at 6 o'clock, and I mean, if you get home at 6 o'clock, you have homework, you have to eat dinner. It just makes it tough to work around that stuff. So if we could keep that in mind and try to find a solution for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Connor. Dr. Coleman.
Similarly to Connor, Smithfield High School had their homecoming last week. The dance was on the 5th, and the football game itself was on the 4th. Smithfield won. It was 20-0. Upcoming things that we have going on, our JROTC is having a car wash on the 19th at Taco Bell, at the Taco Bell in Smithfield, and on the 17th there's going to be a talent show at Smithfield High School. Some other things that are going on is Smithfield has allowed seniors this year the opportunity to paint their parking spots. You know, pay $30 and you can paint the parking spots. I did talk to some seniors this year, and I know that maybe roughly 40% of the seniors I spoke to said that they weren't going to do it simply because they couldn't afford to pay the $30 to paint the parking spot. But most of the ones I spoke to said they would. But yeah, they were just, you know, it's a lot to have to pay for the ability to paint it and then pay for the paint itself too. But other than that, there really hasn't been much going on. I mean, the blocking is an issue I hadn't thought to address, but that is something, yes.
Thanks, Cameron. All right. takes us over to the budget calendar.
Good evening. We are kicking off the fiscal year 2026 budget this month. And a couple of dates I'll point out for you. The superintendent, we are proposing the superintendent will present the proposed budget to you on February 13th. Then we're proposing that on February 27th, we hold a public hearing on the budget. And I guess at March 13th board meeting is when we propose that you would be approving it so that we can get the proposed budget to the county by the March or by the April 1st deadline date. Are there any questions? We've proposed several work sessions, and of course, as we go along through the process, if we need more or less, we will accommodate.
Comments? I think the short story is it's about to get very busy.
I would certainly agree with that, Mr. Chair. And as you see, we have moved the timeline up in terms of some of the work that we will need to do as a staff. So I think that's going to expedite that process this year as well.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting into it with you, ma'am. And just for the listening audience and those sitting here tonight, we did have a joint work session with the county on Tuesday of this week, and we've essentially initiated that conversation to some degree when we presented our leftover request from last year with our capital needs. So short story is we've already started that work with the county, and I know that Mrs. DeVery's been working with the audit committee, so the communications are there. We're going in the right direction. Much work remains, and we'll get it done.
That is correct, sir. And I'm certainly having conversations with our county administrator as well. So absolutely. We're having those discussions, sharing our needs, and again, looking forward to a very fruitful discussion later fall and this winter.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an action item, so unless there's any other comments.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yay.
Mrs. Perkins? Yes. Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. And ma'am, right back to you for the monthly financials.
Yes, sir. The financial reports are in your packet. I don't really notice anything out of the ordinary. We are, as of September 30th, we have spent and encumbered approximately 26% of the budget so far. That's a lot higher than compared to this time last year, but I think it just goes to better planning and moving forward with everybody's planned budget. It does kind of equal out to, we're 3 months into the year or 1 quarter into the year, and that's about 26%. So are there any specific questions?
I do have a few, and I think some of these will get directed over to Dr. Coleman, perhaps. I'll start with a couple. In the monthly check register, there was a line item 357458. It was Follett School Solutions, numerous invoices from previous years. I'm assuming that's a correction you found during your previous audit efforts.
It's actually, they were from Smithfield High School. There's a new bookkeeper there, and these invoices were discovered they hadn't been paid yet.
Okay, so we evened the books with those folks.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. There was a check register 357323, Level Data Incorporated, SPED compliance for $14,300. Can you speak to that a little bit?
That is a software program, I believe, that SPED uses to help identify
the children.
Okay, software. I know that these other ones are going to be for Dr. Coleman. Not necessarily a question, but a statement. And I know that we started this conversation some months ago about the solar panels. Hopefully in the pretty near future, we're going to start talking about whether or not and when and how to build new schools to replace this one. Inevitably, the conversation of solar panels will come up. So my question is quite simply, the money we spend to install these solar panels that have been put on Windsor, Georgie Tyler, and honestly, I don't know where they're all at. Did the investment pay for itself with cost savings on electricity? I don't know the answer to that. I don't expect you to give me an answer tonight, but I would like to dig into that and be prepared for that conversation. The ones that are there aren't going anywhere. That ship sailed.
Right.
But moving forward, I think we need to have a hard look and see whether or not we're saving by investing in those.
Okay. Yes, sir.
The other items were about the MBCon change order for Hardy, and then the ABM overtime for school construction. I think those are tied together, are they not?
Yes, sir. They're tied very loosely together. Let's first of all look at the MBCon change order for Hardy. I think you have in your check register, and what you're going to find is this check for MBCon was the layout for the new central office, meaning it paid for the concrete, the roof blocking, the waterproofing, the hookup to the water pump, the sewer, to the water there, the HVAC, the electrical, the utilities, everything to prep the building. So that's what those funds were paid for, and it came as a change order to the original contract of New Hardy.
Okay.
For the ABM overtime for school construction, as was mentioned at the joint board meeting 2 nights ago, everything that we have worked towards with the new central office has all been grant money. And those grant funds we have distributed increasingly understanding that we must use them with the most fiscal responsibility as possible. Using ABM in the off days of weekends and after work hours was much more cost effective than actually going out getting a contractor to run through it. So that was an accumulation of all of the time period that we've spent with ABM using them for those services. For those two, that's the MBCon and the ABM.
Thanks. And so for the folks that, and I don't know that they'll get to see a recording of the joint session because of the internet situation over there, but I believe it was right around a year ago we sat up here and we approved the initiative to rehabilitate part of the old Hardy into what's going to be the new central office. And just to reiterate, all that, as we agreed upon, has been funded with grant funds, no local tax dollars. And I'll put you on the spot just like they did the other night. You have an estimate on when we'll be ready to rock and roll and move you folks over there?
Well, there's a lot of different options that are actually going into the layout. So just looking at what needs to be done and what has already been done, we're just trying to weigh those options out.
Understood. I just wanted to put you on the spot and make you sweat a little bit.
No problem.
All right. And lastly, Dr. Coleman, if you could talk about the final reconciliation for Aramark.
Yes, sir. This is the final reconciliation for Aramark, and this is going to be the April, May, and June bill. As you can see, that started off at, what was it, over 600,000. I don't have the actual
530, 575,000.
Right. The bill started off a tad bit higher. It was a decrease of $153,798. What we found in the closeout is that Aramark failed to do management duties and several other duties, and we were able to pinpoint were able to pinpoint those duties and make sure that we had documented the situation. So we talked back and forth, and with contract negotiations, managed to come down $153,000. So the final payment for Aramark was $530,575.80. And once again, that was for the months of April, May, and June of 2024.
Very good, sir. So, short story, they didn't meet all the requirements. We got some of that money back.
Absolutely.
Thank you both. That's all I've got, unless the board has something else.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I just would like to give you an update on the county's audit committee that I sit on, and they met this past Monday. We went over a lot of information. Mrs. Wells, who is the CFO for the county, she provided a notebook full of information, one being all of the county's financial policies, also some descriptions about fund accounting. She also went over last year's audit findings, and I, of course, let them know that I have corrected those issues from last year by, reconciling fiscal year 24 timely. I also let them know about what I had told you last month, how we anticipate returning approximately $112,000 back to the county. So I just thought I'd give you an update on what we discussed.
Thank you, ma'am. By all accounts, everything I've heard is it's a positive working relationship, and you've brought a great deal to the table over there. So we thank you.
Thank you.
Did you?
Okay, when I was looking through, I had a question on the soccer license, the 5760 for soccer. Somebody address that.
Good evening. So that is for our reverse inclusion program, and if you remember, that program is for special needs students, and we also have peer models. They're 3- and 4-year-old students, and part of that program is we're partnering with a company to provide soccer lessons for those students. And actually, we would like to be able to present that to you in the coming months and show you more about what we're doing for those children.
Got it. Love to see it. Thank you.
Precious.
All right. Anybody else?
No.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Support Services, Dr. Coleman.
Mr. Chair, school board members, support service update. Ooh, sat in the wrong chair. There we go. All right, operations update. I'd like to start off by talking about the division crisis team. This is a team that we set up across the division maybe 3 years ago, and we get an opportunity to meet all of the individuals that's responsible for law enforcement, emergency services, different things of that nature, and we get an opportunity to bring different issues that are going on with the school in front of these individuals, the experts of their field, and talk about it, discuss different items, different things of that nature. This year, the Division Crisis Team meeting, I have the names of the members up there. Of course, we have the school personnel, Superintendent, Dr. Kramer, myself, Mr. Brinkley, the coordinator of facilities, the Sheriff Clark, who's always there, Chief Howell, Chief Riddle, Sergeant with Smithfield Police, Chris McGowan, Ryan Acey. We also brought IWCS nursing supervisor. We wanted to include the nurses this year. Will Drury, Mr. Don Robinson, the assistant county administrator, G. Cron, the sheriff's office, chief of emergency management, and of course, director of public works. We're all going to meet on October 24th at 11 a.m. We usually meet 2 to 3 times a year, taking all of our issues, bringing it together, and working through some of the issues, once again, the school has. Topics of discussion this year will be Windsor High School crosswalk on Church Street, evaluate off-campus reunification sites, which is huge this year, and school safety walk schedules sent to the principals, where we do a safety walk of all of the schools. And of course, the security report cards to be utilized on the security walk. We're actually creating a security report card that we can actually give to the principals to ensure that they understand where they stand at. And it's going to be a couple of other issues that we discuss. All right. Next is the asset schedule. The importance of this is that this is an item that has been asked about for years at Isle of Wight. The asset schedule is an improved inventory management system that we can track every item in the division. Every boiler, every chiller, every heater, every AC unit, every item that comes along with maintenance, we now can track it. So we can track it by the years, meaning if it's 15 years old, we know when the turnover schedule is. This will allow us to plan a CIP more effectively. This will allow us to plan yearly more effectively. This handles the preventive maintenance and compliance with regulations, cost control, and budgeting. This was done through ABM. As you already know, there was a large cost that goes along with all of the asset schedule, but we now have that in turn.
I got to say, it's surprising to me. I mean, I've only been on the board for a couple of years, but it's surprising to me that that hasn't been in place before now.
Right. It was something that the prior maintenance company, we tried to work through that for years. We could never get it accomplished, but it's something that ABM has done in under 1 year. So once again, this will allow us to plan effectively in the maintenance area for years to come. We have every boiler written down, every chiller, everything has a line item to let you know exactly when it's due. A larger presentation is coming in the upcoming months to show you how we're preparing for the budget cycle based off of this asset schedule.
Excellent.
All right, Windsor High School tennis court completion. Scheduled to be completed on October 17th. This is the condition of the tennis courts at this time. Everyone at Windsor High School knows this. They see this on a daily basis, but mostly the public does not know this. This is why we're getting those refurbished, redone at this time. Once again, scheduled to be completed on October 17th. I normally don't like to put dates out there, but I'm going to hold the company to the fire, so October 17th. All right. Windsor High School roof replacement. This is something that needed to be done. The roof was actually collapsing at the concession stand, and it needed to be redone. So now we have a new roof at Windsor High School replacement, and the storage building we'll be doing next week. And the last item is the fuel report. As you can see, there's a decrease in the fuel from last year to this year, and it's pretty significant. It's close to $30,000 to $27,000. Now, the significant reduction in fuel costs from last year to this year is largely due to a combination of factors. A drop in diesel prices was the key contributor, lowering overall fueling expenses. Additionally, there has been a reduction in the number of trips taken from last year to this year, which directly decreased fuel consumption. Fewer vehicles are in operation, and types of vehicles are either fewer and more efficient. Finally, shorter trip distances have contributed also to lower fuel consumption. Now, while the trips are shorter from last year to this year, I haven't done the research into that, but that is the factors that directly relate to the $27,000 drop in diesel fuel.
It's pretty significant.
It is. All right, and lastly is the meals per day increase. Just want to make sure we point out once again the increase in meals per day from last year to this year based on the month of September. Last year, 26,581 lunches for September. This year is 30,308. Last year for breakfast, it's, I got that a little backward. For breakfast, but for lunch it was 49,718. And for 2024, it went up a little bit over 150 lunches. So there's a small increase in the lunch breakfasts and a larger increase with the breakfast for this year over last year, in-house.
I was going to save this for the end of the meeting, but I think it's an appropriate time to just give a plug for food services, in particular, Mr. Mark Ruffin.
Yes.
So I went over to Windsor Elementary this morning before the crunch heard around the Commonwealth, and I had lunch with my youngest. And Mr. Ruffin and Mrs. Hicks walked into the cafeteria, and I caught my attention because they're plugging across, and I'm listening to all these little kids. It's complete chaos. And it got quiet, and the next thing you know, Ruffin is being swarmed by all these kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not exaggerating. There was 15 to 20 kids all trying to give this man a hug. So whatever he's doing over there, he's doing it right. So I wish he was here to hear it, but kudos to him and what he does.
All right. I'll make sure you let him know also.
I was going to take a picture, but I didn't want to take my phone out during the school hours.
And that concludes the operations report.
Comments from the board? I got one, sir, and you know it's coming.
All right.
Talk to me about these sinkholes on Church Street. Where are we at?
All right. I've been in contact with a gentleman, Mr. Bowman, from VDOT at this time. He's researching all of the work that has been done. He's informed me that this has been an issue on their books, and he's researching all of the issues that have been done and what is going to be done in the next month or two. So I did respond to him and let him know that I do have individuals asking and need a full report on exactly what's going on by next month, but we're still trying to work through not only whose property line is the sinkholes more current to, but is it in the zone of VDOT from the middle of the road out towards the sidewalk? So he's being very receptive, but at the same time, he's still working through some issues. Then Mr. Bowman, he was the point of contact for VDOT for the Windsor area.
So I get the gray area there between what's school property and what's VDOT, the easement, so to speak. I get all that. My struggle personally is that Wight County Schools is having to negotiate about stormwater drains that is arguably a VDOT issue. They own that road. Whether or not the storm drains fall under our property or not, they still own that road, and the water that runs off the road is eroding the issue. So,
yes.
Personally, I know that nothing in government happens fast.
Right.
But I know that you've personally been working on this for what, 2 years now?
2 years.
2 years.
Right.
I think the time has come. My ask of you, Dr. Kramer, Dr. Coleman, is if you haven't gotten some sort of a, let's call it, acceptable response, then my ask of you will be, who does Mr. Bowman work for? And who can I contact? And who can I... Everybody works for someone.
Absolutely.
And I'm confident that I can call some of our friends over at the Board of Supervisors and get some lateral assistance on the matter. The issue is no small issue. It won't be a cheap repair.
Absolutely.
There's got to be some common ground and a little bit of common sense applied here. And the fact that you're spending hours and hours in 2 years dealing with this when you could be focused on arguably more important stuff. I'm ready to give you whatever support you need. So,
okay,
you've got the football, gentlemen. I hope that my colleagues up here would agree that 2 years is long enough.
Right.
We got homecoming. We got a homecoming parade going to roll right down.
Yes, it is.
Church Street Friday. We've got plates that we've had to buy to put over these sinkholes.
We did. 4
It's
plates.
a lawsuit waiting to happen before somebody puts a foot in a hole, snaps a bone, and then I can guarantee you VDOT won't be accepting responsibility for that either.
Right.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Next is 16.3, the weapons detection system. I want to give you, excuse me, an overview of weapons detection systems. As you already know, it was an item on the CIP last year that was approved by the school board as well as the board. At this time, we have received all of the systems in. We have 8 units, and the 8 units consist of 2 pillars each. Now, we have training for the weapons detection system on October the 15th and 16th at Windsor High School. And just to talk a little bit about the actual weapons detection system, the company that we decided to go with was Open Gate. Now, this allows students and staff to walk through without having to remove personal items like bags and belts, ensuring a smooth, non-intrusive screening process. Now, the system can process a large number of individuals quickly, making it ideal for schools, high traffic areas, places like Busch Gardens. I don't know what system they have, but it's a similar system. Busch Gardens, the King's Dominions, sites of that nature. They have real-time alerts. It provides instant alerts if a weapon is detected, allowing school security personnel to act immediately instead of wait around. And then, of course, the customized sensitivity settings. That's the major thing. Turning them up to catch every little small thing, or turning them back so that we can just really focus on cell phones, really focus on weapons, you can focus on whatever you really want to focus on at the time. All right, and of course, it's portable and easy to install, meaning they can be at the front door when you start off, but then you can actually move it closer to the doors of the lunchroom. Then you can actually move it out to a football game. So it's very accessible to be able to move and use throughout the school. So that's the system that we'll be training on the 15th and the 16th. We will be sending out information to the parents and to the community to let them know. We're going to try to make sure we give a 72-hour to 48-hour notice of when we're rolling it out, but we ask everyone to have patience because it's new to us just like it's going to be new to the community. So we're going to walk through this, and as we make alterations and changes, we'll make sure that everyone is kept abreast to the situation. We're going to use Windsor for the first rollout, and then we'll move on to Smithfield High School. So everyone is well prepped and well trained. Any questions on weapon detection?
Good to hear it's finally coming to fruition.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all the work on that.
Good.
Mrs. Street, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Kramer, fellow school board members. I'm here to present the annual professional development update. We're just going to recap last year, just a couple things to highlight. I won't read everything to you, but we do have 2 full GoTech labs at Georgie Tyler and SMS. Over the summer, our 2 teachers went to summer curriculum, and the program is really in the beginning stages, so we have a lot of work in kind of dictating the path and really catering it toward the needs of our students. So remember that the GoTech labs are helping with middle school students get initial understanding of our CTE program, so they get a little bit almost like appetizer taste of each of the CTE programs, and to help build that pathway towards high school. We also did a lot of, through the year, preparing for the new reading curriculum and math updates. We continued our strength-based leadership into our central office and into our principal, assistant principal leadership meetings. We came together towards the middle of July and then in beginning of August to meet with all schools. We are lucky to meet off campus at the Smithfield Center. We came together, really dissected all the new curriculum, looking at strategic planning updates, data, and then also the new operations and maintenance processes to make things run a little bit smoother at school level. And then we really dove into the Focus 5, which I'm just going to spend some time on. So I don't know if you all are aware, but ever since I've been here in Isle of Wight, we've had focus documents. And there were 11 focus documents. And these really drove our vision and our mission of the work that we were doing. 11 is a lot to focus on. So we really looked at what are we currently doing in Isle of Wight County Schools, and what do we really want for those who are currently here and those who are joining us to really know that this is the focus of our division. So we went through a process with an instruction team and our leadership teams, and we really narrowed it down to 5. So you'll see the first, which is the profile of an IWCS graduate, which is following VDOE's profile of a graduate. Then we have our instructional framework, which is going to help model that direct instruction, student work period, debriefing. And then we have many forms of data that we collect. So we're looking at data-based decision making to really inform and get the whole picture of the whole student. The last two, we've done a lot of work around academic rigor and critical thinking. You know, we have our parent committees and we're going to start our student committees. So we definitely have that one as a focus. And then our professional learning communities, which is where all of our professional development is housed for our teachers. Do want to say that all of these are available at every school in nice big posters to be posted in PLC rooms to remind teachers and for our students to see too that this is the focus connection to our mission and vision. We also have copies at central office, and I'd be happy to provide you guys with copies as well. We started our year based on teacher feedback. After we always do big professional development, I always send out an opportunity for teachers to share what they thought about professional development, what they would like to see. So if you notice here, we kind of narrowed down, teachers asked for time. They wanted time at the beginning of the year. So we really had to see what were our major focuses, what did we really have to make sure they got before they started school. And then what could maybe wait until we got them in the building and students were here, and then we could kind of stagger PD as we went through the year. So these are kind of our big highlights. You'll see the Focus 5. Principals took the training that we gave them and gave it to their staff. CTE, we're expanding our reverse job fair this year, so we talked a little bit more about that. We're in our second year with Nearpod, more training with our Promethean boards, STAR reports for all of our new. And then DCJS came in and provided anxiety and depression training for our middle school, which we will phase into elementary soon as well. These are our new teachers that came in. We had about 70 new to Isle of Wight County, and 32 of these teachers are less than 3 years experience. So we have a lot of new, which is wonderful. They're very energized, they're ready to go, which is very exciting. But a lot of them are also new to education. So maybe not having that background of what a traditional classroom looks like and what good teaching practices are. So I say that in that we really focused on what do they need to be successful in the first months of school. So we provided them with training, classroom management, talking about mental health and wellness to take care of themselves. Of course, looking at our Focus 5 documents and looking at framework and critical thinking strategies. And then something new that's this year is we are running our own new teacher cohort. So the 32 teachers who are very new are all coming together. They will attend 6 full-day professional development sessions provided by us. It's all day, and they will be off campus, and they're all coming together. We had our very first one this week, and they were very excited, a little nervous to be away from the classroom, but walked away with some strategies and are actually implementing. I got pictures today that they were already implementing strategies. We will be holding these sessions at the Centera St. Luke space. So the ones where our students did the mural, that's a free space. So they have opened it up to us, and that's when we will be holding our sessions. And then this is just ongoing professional learning and support. So we're continuing Focus 5. We're going to do some more training with Frontline. That's where teachers are logging the professional development. Data-wise, leadership meetings are continuing. We're moving strength-based leadership into our SLT teams to really focus on the needs and how everyone's leveraging and showing up all day. And then really looking at CTE certifications, leveling up to have more of those, and then some partnerships with Skill USA as well. Any questions for me?
Just curious, if I was a first-year teacher, we're what, a month or so into school, would I be assigned a mentor or a coach specifically to keep their finger on me and guide me along and so on and so forth? How does that work?
Yes, so we have a new teacher manual, and every teacher, no matter if they're 20 years or fresh out of the gate, are given a building mentor. Some of them have their fingers on them than others, but in addition, we have a tracking system to where mentors are meeting with our brand new teachers every week, and that's tracked in Frontline, and that's monitored by myself too. Principals also make sure that mentors are checking in with them on whatever is needed for each month. So we've given topics like in September, you need to make sure you cover this. In October, you need to make sure you cover this. So no matter if they're 30 years in or 0 years in, they have someone in the building to support them.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right. Ms. Getz.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Dr. Kramer, members of the board. Tonight I'm going to share with you the annual class size report. This is one of our yearly requirements per the standards of accreditation. As I go through the slides, please feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you may have. So we'll first start by taking a look at our enrollment. And as you see, we've done the last couple of years, so you can kind of take a look at which schools might be increasing and decreasing, kind of split. Some have realized some increases and some have also decreased. So not really any big trend that we can notice there. Yep, going back.
We did do a rezone 2 years ago.
Yes.
So we took some students from the Carsville area, or not Carsville, Carrollton, and shipped them over to Hardy.
Yes.
So that would probably be some of that, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's about 100 kids that were rezoned from Carrollton. And you'll see when we take a deeper look at the Carrollton numbers, it has really helped relieve some of the stress on that school as far as class sizes. So yes. All right, so let's take a look at just elementary, and we wanted to share this because it's important to realize that in the previous numbers, like, you may not see the pre-K, but those kids are there, and they are in our schools. And so I think it's important to recognize that even though the other numbers may not reflect the pre-K students, we do have pre-K special education students there, and we have our VPI students there. And oftentimes for our elementary schools, the littles, their first experiences in school, they tend to require a lot of time. So I think it's important to realize when we talk about our school enrollment, those littles do require time.
And this also ties into our conversation about program capacity as well.
It absolutely does, because if you look at this, you know, they are taking, you know, space. You know, these are classrooms that are housing 18 kids for VPI and approximately 8 to 10 kids for our special education programs. And so it definitely ties into our program capacity conversation. And again, we love our preschoolers. We love giving them that experience. It definitely prepares them for the next step. So how does it compare to the, how does it compare to the previous years? Just wanted you to take a look at that. As you see, you know, since COVID, we have been rebounding and getting students back each year. It is interesting to note, and I did bring that number because I figured somebody was going to ask me about our homeschool numbers. And when you look at the homeschool numbers, it's really teeny tiny, so let me put the glasses on. Prior to COVID, we had 231 homeschool students, and now we have about 420, so it's doubled. And that has been across the state. When you look at the numbers, it's the exact same across the state. It's doubled.
How much staff time is required from the school to keep track of the homeschool students?
We do it at central office. Colleen Loud, that's one of her duties, is she processes the homeschool paperwork, sends out all the notifications and approvals to the parents. So she handles that. The schools do not directly handle the homeschool piece.
Got it.
All right, so let's take a look at kindergarten. And you know, this is the number that you never know what to expect. And you know, sometimes from year to year, it causes us to have to move staff around because we have more kindergartners than we expected. You never know what you're going to get in this with this level. And if you can just take a look, I mean, sometimes some years it's been significantly higher, some lower. So this is always our guess. You know, we kind of predict it's going to be about the same as the previous year, but sometimes this does cause us to have to move staff. This year we did not, so that was great. Okay, so this is the report that the numbers we are required to present to you, and honestly, it is a little bit misleading when you look at the total ratio. We do report this to the state, but it includes all of the resource teachers, and it's a little misleading because obviously, you know, those are not content teachers, and so it does decrease what your ratio looks like, but the actual ratio is what our content teachers have in their classroom. So when you talk about a 4th grade teacher, that's the ratio, that's the actual ratio, which I think is actually a little more relevant than total ratio. As you can see, elementary, we really do not want to exceed 24, and even that is getting a bit high, so our west side numbers are a little on the high side. All right, class sizes, I mentioned before, you know, rezoning those about 100 students from Carrollton to Hardy really have helped the Carrollton numbers. Their class sizes are very good right now. This is Carsville, and you know, you talk about you never know what to expect. In that 4th grade, that bubble group with the 2 classes of 25, definitely larger than the other classes there. And as you can see, we have the 1 1st grade class of just 24 students. Hardy Elementary, 3rd grade was our large group this year. We're right at the cutoff. We don't exceed 24 at Hardy for grades K through 3, and we are right there. Windsor Elementary, looking good. 4th grade is right, you know, we really don't want to be much higher than that for 4th grade, but look how 5th grade is definitely in a good spot. And then West Side. I will note, it's interesting, West Side typically has 8 4th grade classes, but the Carrollton numbers coming over, and again, this does have to do with the shift, significantly smaller class, an overall group for 4th grade. So we were able to reduce and move teachers elsewhere. And let's take a look at secondary. And as you can see, when you look at the school-wide ratio, Smithville High is quite a bit higher than our other schools. GTMS, our average class sizes are looking good there. Resource classes, PE is larger, which it typically is. We really would like to 30. We go higher sometimes, but we really don't want to be much more than that. Smithfield Middle School class sizes, larger than GTMS, but those are still good. And their resource class sizes. Smithfield High, oh yes.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around all this.
Sure.
And we had a conversation a week or so ago about this very topic, but the state's calculation says we're ratio is what, 14-to-1, there and about. You're using the state's required calculation to come up with that number, and that's what dictates accreditation or not, correct? To some extent?
The class sizes is long, not exactly.
The ratio.
Yes. It really is looking more at elementary for that, but yes, to a certain extent, we have to stay under a certain ratio.
So does the DOE set a cap on any individual class's capacity?
Yes, there are, for different grade levels, there are caps, but the caps are high. And I would have to, I don't want to tell you exactly, but for example, in a 4th grade classroom, the cap could be up to 35, I think it might be. I'm looking at Laura, I don't know if she remembers. It might be up to 35. Well, we would never want to put 35 students in a 4th grade classroom. Like, the caps can go quite high. The reason for our elementary, we have title funds, and we also get class size reduction money. And because we accept those funds, we have to stay under a cap. Our cap is based on our free and reduced lunch status, and so 24 is our cap. Other divisions, their cap could be 19. Ours is 24.
For elementary?
K-3, yes.
But there are some that we've exceeded that 24.
Not in an individual classroom. For K-3.
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 So for Carsville, there was a couple 25s. That was 4th grade?
Yes, and yes, we're fine there. So the state ratios, what they consider as acceptable, they are very high numbers. Like, that would not be acceptable for our students and our parents.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Smithfield High School, and we broke this into semesters just so you could take a look at that. It's not year-long classes. And here's our electives. And here's Windsor High School. And the elective classes. And do you have any other questions about, if you haven't asked them as we've gone through? You know, class size is something we always take a look at. We're constantly monitoring because this determines when we then need to ask for additional staffing. So it's something we monitor all year long. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Doc Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to start the meeting by sharing some broad prepared remarks on Windsor Elementary, given that we've had a few comments earlier. As many of you know, superintendents and school leaders are very limited in what we can say on issues pertaining to personnel matters. Nonetheless, within the past 2 weeks, I did share a message with the Windsor Elementary School community to provide as much information as possible, given the limitations on what we can share. So for the most part, I will allow that message to stand for itself. I will say, however, that I value the feedback that I've received from staff and from parents, and I do appreciate the very respectful manner in which the messages have been conveyed. If you still have questions and or concerns that you think I can address, I do ask that you reach out to my office, and I will gladly have a conversation with you, and will share as much information as I'm permitted to share without divulging confidential information. So thank you for allowing me to share that, Mr. Chair. And I will go into my superintendent's update. High Five Wednesdays. Westside Elementary and Smithfield Police Department began a new weekly tradition called High Five Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, members of the police department come to Westside Elementary and stand outside the entrances to greet students as they arrive and exchange high fives and positive energy to start the day. What a wonderful initiative. Thank you, Smithfield police officers and Chief Howell, for your support of our students. And I'm sure board members, they will welcome you all coming to join in high fives on one of those High Five Wednesdays. Our asynchronous day. So these are students, I think, from Smithfield High School, if I'm correct. On September 23rd, we had our first asynchronous day of the year. Wight County Schools added 3 asynchronous days to the school calendar for the 2024-2025 school year, which is what you voted on, board members. The 2 remaining days are March 14 and May 2nd. Isla Wight added the dates in response to the request from students and staff that noted asynchronous days would benefit the mental health and well-being of both students and staff. Pictured students from Smithfield High were spotted at the Cure Coffee House using their asynchronous day to great effect, working collaboratively on projects and catching up on work. When asked about their thoughts on the day, one student said, "Overall, I think asynchronous days help students tremendously. As a junior, I've had a very heavy workload trying to prepare for senior year. I'm taking a lot of challenging classes at once, and I have after-school activities almost every day. This doesn't leave enough time to get everything done for every class. Having the asynchronous day yesterday gave me time to catch up on my missing assignments. It was nice to have the designated time to work on whatever I needed to work on. I think asynchronous days are very helpful, and I think we should have more." So board members, please know that, again, the calendar you approved is helping both our students and staff as we present it when we share the calendar. So thank you, and wanted to share those comments from our students. And at some point, I'd certainly like to hear from both Connor and Cameron as it relates to that. I'm not going to put you on the spot at this moment, but would certainly like to have your thoughts there. Next, the OBC Foundation check presentation. The OBC Healthcare Foundation donated $50,000 to support the renovation of Windsor High tennis courts, and Dr. Coleman shared that a bit earlier as well. This project will provide a space for student athletes and Windsor community to enjoy outdoor activities. Thank you to the Foundation President and CEO, R. Battle Betts Jr., and the Foundation Program Officer, pictured there, Kelvin Turner II, for joining us at Windsor on September 18th to present the donation. So we're very appreciative to the OBC Foundation for that very generous gift. Next, our central office PD days. So on September 18th and October 9th, we had our central office professional development days, and these days gave us an opportunity as a central office group to come together to make improvements that will lead to our central office staff identifying ways to better support our students and our schools. It was a wonderful opportunity. In fact, it took place here in this room. And again, the purpose is to identify ways to become better servant leaders for our schools. Next, the Superintendent's Roundtable. On October 3rd, I had the pleasure to attend a meeting coordinated by Delegate Otto Waxman and all of the superintendents in the 83rd District, including Isla Wight. The 83rd District includes the city of Emporia, Brunswick, Greensville, Southampton, Sussex County, Dinwiddie, and parts of Isla Wight. Thank you, Delegate Waxman, for providing the opportunity to discuss important education priorities that affect school divisions in the 83rd District. Next, Cameron mentioned this a little bit earlier, Smithfield Homecoming. The annual tradition of homecoming brought a week of school spirit and fun to Smithfield and was capped off, as was stated earlier, with a parade, a 20-0 win over York High School, and the annual homecoming dance. Interestingly, I was present and spent most of the time in the stands really enjoying the game. So I didn't take a lot of photos as I normally do. I was very impressed with our Smithfield football team, with all of the festivities. Our football team's playing some really good football this year, so great job all. Great job, Mrs. Cuffey and staff, for having a wonderful homecoming week, providing lots of activities for our students and staff. And some of the photos are not here, but we had a number of the alumni come back from many, many years ago. So again, it was a great week. And next week, Connor, it's going to be your turn at Windsor High School. And I look for, well, this very week, I'm saying next week, this week, sorry. And the homecoming game is tomorrow, as you stated as well. So I look forward to spending time with you all tomorrow as you bring home a victory, I think, against Sussex. So I will see you there, good sir. And lastly, but certainly not least, this just occurred, so thank you, Mr. Elliott, for getting these photos all loaded. Crunch Heard Round the Commonwealth is a special event to increase the awareness of Virginia farm-to-school programs. To celebrate the event, participants across the Commonwealth took a bite out of a Virginia-grown apple, producing the celebratory Crunch. The program launched in 2017, and the Crunch has grown exponentially over the years. We are very honored to have had two of our school board members there with us today. Chair Marsh was there, Vice Chair Wooster was there, as well as state and local elected officials, and we were very honored as well to have a visit by our state superintendent of public education, Dr. Lisa Coons. It was a great event. And I thank our staff. Thank you, Mr. Judkins, Mr. Brittle, the agricultural land lab students. Thank you, Chef Horn and the culinary arts students. Thank you, Windsor Elementary students and staff. And thank you, Mrs. Briggs, Mr. Elliott, Mr. Coopwriter, and the awesome IT staff. And thank you to all of our other staff members who were there to support. And with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my superintendent update.
Thanks. Dr. Kramer, entertain me for a second. Do we ever have, when we do open houses, do we ever open up the farm lab for open house?
That's a really good question, Ms. Getz. Dr. Kale? Come on up to the mic.
Do you mean like when we have like elementary open house?
Sure. Or just
not
in general?
typically for like the back to school night, but we do one in the spring for our rising ninth graders and any students interested in that CTE program. We do open that up.
The only reason I ask is because this morning when we were walking around, Mr. Boykin made comment. He goes, people don't know this is back here. And I thought about that. So
we have done community, and we haven't done it for a couple of years, but did we do it?
Yeah, but they weren't well attended.
They weren't well. We've done community open house events, but they have not been well attended.
Okay.
But we've done them.
All right. Maybe something we can talk about offline, but.
Sure.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And having the state superintendent there today and a number of our community members and even some of the local elected officials, I think it was their first time being there. So open invitation, I often invite people. Not sure what we can do to incentivize more people to come out, but absolutely, it's a gem in our county, something we're very proud of. We did have WHRO there today, and they did some taping, and we'll be featuring that on their channel, so hopefully more people will see it and be interested in coming out. But if anyone's listening and would like to have a tour, we welcome our community to come out and see what we have out there at the Agricultural Land Lab.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Thank you. All right, that takes us to 18.1, action on closed session. Mr. Wooster?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the personnel report and addendum as presented, a copy of which can be obtained from the school board clerk.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. Good sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the board's action, I would like to make an announcement, and the staff at Windsor High School was made aware of this. I think, Windsor Elementary, thank you for correcting me. The staff at Windsor Elementary was made aware of this, and given that this individual is not available for November, we elected to present the new principal of Windsor Elementary this evening. So I am pleased to announce that Dr. Kristen Wilkins has been appointed as principal of Windsor Elementary School. Would you please stand? Will not put you on the spot, but just ask that you stand. Dr. Wilkins has devoted the last 8 years of her 16-year career in education to Wight County Schools. She first served as a special education teacher at Carrollton Elementary, followed by service to Georgie Tyler Middle School as instructional coach and assistant principal. Currently, Dr. Wilkins serves as a special education coordinator where she supports Windsor High School, Georgie Tyler Middle School, and Hardy Elementary School with compliance and provides support to special education students as well as their families and educators. She holds a doctorate degree from Liberty University. She also currently serves on 2 boards, Voices for Kids, CASA, and as the president of the Virginia Council of Exceptional Children. Dr. Wilkins is a resident of Isle of Wight, along with her husband and 2 children. Dr. Wilkins is looking forward to supporting the continued success of Windsor Elementary. Again, congratulations, Dr. Wilkins.
Thanks, sir. And congratulations, Dr. Wilkinson. All right, 19.1, consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as attached and presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? I'll just give a quick shout out for the monthly donation report for October. LPT Realty donated $45 to Carrollton Elementary School, and the William M. Cage Library Trust donated $450 to the Carrollton Elementary Library. So much appreciation to those folks. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Cunningham?
Yay.
Mrs. Perkins? Yes. Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. And that takes us to 20.1, policies for second read. It is an action item, but it's listed as an informational. Yeah, but this is, second read is indeed an action item.
It is. Mr. Chair, I move to approve policies for second read as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I had a question on the EBCD about the safety drills. With the pre-K and kindergarten exempt from the mandatory participation in lockdown drills during the first 60 days, is that a legal requirement, or is that just how the policy has been?
That is in state code now to allow them to be exempted out early on so that their first couple of weeks in school, it doesn't kind of create a stressful situation for them to be dealing with a drill. But I think in a lot of cases, and I believe Ms. Getz or Dr. Coleman may have mentioned this before, they are included fairly soon after coming in. Is that correct? Yeah. So, but it is in state code to allow them to be exempted out. They give the division
For
kind
the
of
60 days?
So,
For the
ma'am?
60 days, or that is?
Yeah, that's the numbering code.
All right,
Yeah.
that was my only question.
Up
Thank
to
you.
60, yes.
And I know that I threw that on you out of the blue. So
No,
I'm
no,
sorry
it's
about
okay.
that.
It's all good.
All right, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, let's take a vote, please.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wooster?
Yes.
And Mr. Marsh?
Yes, motion passes. Moving right along to 20.2, this is the bylaws for first read. This is an informational. And computer timed out. So this read was the addition to our bylaws regarding the policy committee. Any comments or questions about any of that? I thought it read pretty well.
Mr. Chair, just for the public and those who did not witness the previous meeting, the changes to this is detailing the process by which policies are reviewed and revised if need be. It just covers that whole process.
Thanks, sir.
I still have the same concern I did previously, and I don't know if maybe throwing this past Pat would help us with wording. I just don't see where any member of the school board can. It seems like any action we take has to send a policy through the policy committee to get it approved, and I'm just concerned that maybe that somebody's that might be in the minority opinion on here, or maybe something could get delayed in the policy committee and wouldn't, if that makes sense. So I just want to make sure that everybody's rights on here are.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure I'm not sure I can catch the concern in the text, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a suggestion? I'm not quite.
I don't, which is.
It does say that any member of the board can recommend a policy for review by notifying members of the board policy committee.
So shouldn't we be able to we can bring it up on the agenda, but we can't take any action on any policy unless it goes through the policy committee?
I don't think there's anything precluding you or me or anybody from pulling a policy out and saying, I want to put this up on the agenda. In fact, it says early on in our bylaws that any board member can offer a suggestion for the meeting agenda. I think this is specific to ones that we want to have reviewed, but I don't think that precludes us from putting on the agenda and discussing it either way. Yeah. That said, if you have some suggestions on how to put that in there, certainly we can entertain that.
I can't even get it across what I mean without it. So.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to have to agree with you 100% on this one. This in no way prohibits any one member from, reviewing a policy on their own and bringing it to the policy review committee. That would not preclude anything. This is specifically for policies that are currently in existence, that are coming up on their 5-year review or very close to that. I don't see any issues with any board member wishing to review a policy.
I have an example. I like analogies and examples. Dr. Kramer planted a seed in my head this morning, and I'm pretty excited about it. He explained to me that in North Carolina, school boards down there, often South Carolina, often have policies for school boards that requires each school board member to fill in as a substitute 1 day a year, just to get an exposure to what a teacher has to deal with. I think it's an outstanding idea, and I've asked Dr. Kramer to give me a copy of that so we could plagiarize it. And when I do get it, I will absolutely send it to the board for a look and pass through review if needed.
I'm getting some mean looks from your colleagues up here, so.
Well, I may get voted down, but I thought it was a pretty cool idea.
Well, Mr. Chair, since I was a substitute teacher for over a year, I see no problems with that.
I don't teach. I never have taught except for sailors. That's a different bag of wax. But just sitting today in the Windsor Elementary cafeteria listening to the chaos, hats off to them, every one of them. So, I don't know. Is that we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is first read, and if you think of something between now and next month, I would say send it up and we'll include it in, and we can always make changes. We haven't voted on it yet. Okay. Awesome. All right. That takes us to our last one. Board member comments, committee reports. Who wants to go first? Sir, go ahead.
Okay, the only thing I have, last month on the 25th, I had a chance. I was invited by the Smithfield High School golf coach to attend their senior night, and it was just great. They're losing 3 seniors this year as they did last year. The team did great this year. They're losing, well, I say losing, but these 3 students are moving on to whatever they're going to do after they graduate. But they won't be on the team next year, but the team is looking good for next year also. But Mr. Max Neff, Mr. Corbin Farrell, and Mr. Connor Keating are the 3 seniors that are leaving. And I just want to say these are great young men. Looking forward to whatever they have planned for the future, whether it be college or whatever they're going to do. But yeah, Smithfield has a great golf team, as does Windsor. So I'd like to hear some more about Windsor High School. I think the team went to, did they go to the regionals or the states or something?
Yes, sir. So we went to regionals, and then I think Monday we're going to states.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And I didn't know, I don't know if Windsor High School has the senior night like Smithfield does for the golf team, but I mean, take it back to your coach, your athletic director. If he wants to invite anyone from the board, we'd be happy to be there, just to congratulate everything they're doing.
Yep, we'll do.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to thank Carrollton Elementary for having me out there one day and letting me hang out in some of the classrooms. I enjoyed myself. I appreciate it.
Mr. Wooster?
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of things here. Yesterday, October 9th, I was honored once again, and I was asked to teach Stop the Bleed program at the for the JROTC cadets at Smithfield High School. The program itself consists of didactic and practical hands-on instruction with demonstration on how to stop bleeding due to an injury in order to save a person's life. The training is beneficial in all types of settings. Colonel Bedoin, First Sergeant Hunter, Nurse Judy Carter, and myself were able to certify a total of 91 students yesterday over 3 block periods. I want to express a special thank you to Nurse Carter for agreeing on very short notice to assist during first block due to the number of students attending the training. There is a student to instructor ratio of a 10-to-1, and we had 39 students in the first block. So during the course of the day, it was noticed that the fire alarm panel in the JROTC building was displaying a trouble code. I would like to thank Dr. Coleman for addressing this issue almost immediately after he was notified. Way to be on top of things. I also want to thank Mr. David Elliott for providing media services and capturing the JROTC students in action. Second, Dr. Kramer, you pretty much already covered it. I was going to mention, the crunch around the world, being at the land lab. The only thing I want to add to that, in addition to open house, I would recommend that 100%. But Mr. Brittle and Mr. Judkins, it's an outstanding job what they have done out there. Each and every time I go and visit, there's always something new and innovative for the students. Prime example today, they've got grapevines going, which I was very impressed with because I've never been able to grow them myself. So again, David Elliott, I want to thank you again for being there front and center and providing media coverage for that event as well. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. I said quite a bit throughout the meeting, so I'll keep this short, but it's not funny. We said it a little bit earlier. Tuesday, we had a joint work session with the County Board of Supervisors. I thought it was a good meeting. We talked about student growth. Mrs. Getz and Mrs. Briggs covered quite a bit about school building capacities as compared to program capacities. which are significantly different. We touched on new school construction. There's a lot of big decisions, a lot of heavy lifts that are going to have to be made here in the near future. We presented our anticipated capital funding request for the FY26 budget, and Dr. Coleman gave us all an update similar to what we saw this evening about many of the improvements we've made since school started following last year's budget. So it was a good, productive meeting, and I look forward to moving forward into the budget season. Last but not least, I want to thank our local law enforcement sergeant. Yes, you, sir. Every school board meeting, these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, stand in the back and make sure that we keep a safe and orderly room. It does not go unnoticed, and we appreciate your support. Thank you, sir. We do feed you. Got it. Thank you. Anything else? Call it a night.